can I just ask what the latest advice and the latest information that you've received has been this morning?
Yeah, look, it's not good, particularly in the fact that we're going to see more weather events today into tomorrow. So the Bureau is somewhat concerned about the front that's coming through, the fact that we've got saturated catchments that are just overflowing as it is. It's going to put more pressure on flash flooding. So we're watching it today. The Bureau this morning are very concerned about the level of rainfall that will come, and that means that people right across from Queensland down into New South Wales need to be vigilant, need to listen to emergency service instructions. They all have a role to play, and when you look at some of the peak areas of concern, the Hawkesbury, Nepean River, you know, there's 2,800 people that have been evacuated from there now, but potentially it's over 54,000 residents if the weather turns bad today that could be impacted. So there's a lot of people that need to understand they have a role to play in this. And as I just understand, the Kempsey CBD has been evacuated. So this is an unfolding event that we all need to be cognizant of, and the responsibilities we all play in supporting those men and women that are putting their lives on the line for us in emergency services.
Yeah, and just on the emergency assistance that is available for people who have been caught up for it, can you just elaborate on and simplify what people can do to get that money?
Yeah, so this is initial support, and you need to understand we'll make further announcements as we get further assessments. But as of 8 a.m. this morning, residents that have had damage to their homes, that had water through their homes, they can claim $1,000 per adult and $400 per child. Those people who have had their income impacted by this can also qualify for up to 13 weeks of income support, and they simply have to contact Centrelink. They can do that from 8 a.m. this morning. There's a designated line for them. And from that, they will be able to get those people in Centrelink to have that money in their account pretty well immediately. This is just about some dignity and respect to let them get the essentials of life and just to get through and start the actual grief process and get back on their feet.
What's the income support? How much is that available to them?
That's equivalent to Austudy, so that's just around those people whose income, and whether they're casuals and they can't get to work and won't be able to get to work, it's just about making sure that they continue to get money into their pockets until such time as roads open and businesses reopen and clean up. So we're just saying to people, please don't self-assess. It's important you ring Centrelink. You shouldn't be ashamed. Your fellow Australian is there to support you in your hour of need. So we're just saying, please contact Centrelink. Let them support you and work through the process for you.
And is it still 18 areas that have been declared so far when it comes to emergency assistance?
No, we've increased that now to 34, Peter. The reality is, and that may need to continue to increase. We're working with the New South Wales government who are making these assessments, and it's predicated on the damage of the floodwater. And as the waters rise, obviously that may increase. So it's now 34 local government areas, and we are probably potentially looking at some within Queensland from the events there last night. The Queensland government hasn't made application yet, but obviously we're working with them to make sure they understand the federal government will move immediately if they request it.
I know this is a state issue, but do you believe that water should have been released from the Warragamba Dam prior to all this rainfall?
Well, I think in the cold, hard light of facts after the event, I think there'll be a review to look at all these things. We can always learn from each one of these. Can we do it better? And I think that's something as a society we shouldn't be afraid to have a mature conversation about. But I think just in the middle of trying to keep people safe, I think we should just focus on that. There'll be plenty of time for people to review these types of decisions that have been made, and for us to continue to consider and work with states to actually start digging some holes and building some more dams. Lo and behold, you know, we're going to see more of these larger events. It just makes sense to catch some of that water, and now we've got $3.5 billion ready to cut a cheque to get some bulldozers and excavators moving, but we need the states to give the approvals to decide how they want to do it. And it's just time that I think we stop talking about it and actually do something.
Yeah. Are you satisfied with the speed that it is taking? I'm referring to the three infrastructure projects that were announced towards the end of last year that relate to new dams. Are you satisfied with the speed that is taking?
Well, no, and I don't think it's just New South Wales. I think you can say it's right up into Queensland. I mean, we are business cased. We are EIS out of our brains. Just what continues to go on in just doing report after report. At some point, someone's going to have to turn the engine on and get a dozer and an excavator moving and start digging some holes and start plumbing our nation. I mean, this is the frustrating thing. Our forefathers gave ownership of the resources to the states. We respect that, and we've said we'll do our bit. We'll cut a cheque. But we can't even get them to take our money. And this is the frustrating thing that Australians can see, the opportunity that's there for us to start to plumb this country, particularly not just for agriculture, but even for urban centres. You've got to understand there'll be a 37% reduction in storage capacity per person per megalitre of water, even in metro areas by 2030, which means you'll have trouble turning your tap on when you want to because the population's increasing, but we can't get the states to dig a hole to store some water to keep water in our pipes.
And just finally, I know you've got to go, but vaccine rollout today in some parts of New South Wales, what sort of delays are you expecting?
Well, that'll be predicated on how quickly the water abates. We're in no rush. We're in a really good position in Australia, better than any other country in the world, because we've been able to manage this pandemic. We haven't got people severely ill in hospitals of any great quantities, so we've been able to manage it so we can get this right. But we're confident that we'll continue to roll out those 6 million vaccinations over the next 6 months. We did it last year during the flu season and COVID. We were able to do that through our GPs. We've had twice the number of GPs sign up to this. We're very confident that we'll work with the medical profession to roll those vaccines out in a COVID-safe way and a safe way in terms of emergencies once the water abates.